or and that we cannot be compelled to serve after death. Because where we come from, that's actually a legitimate concern. Because there's a whole house that does that. So I think that us having that in there is actually reasonable.
Now, I do feel like maybe we should have something in it like this agreement is only for this. Only the 6 of us are agreeing to be his vassals. Like, you can't, like, say, oh, like, when Tenny gets older, now she's his servant and he can start telling her what to do. She can't make that kind of agreement right now. She's a child.
She's a member
I'm sorry,
of
you're saying you want to disown Tenny from your inheritance?
No, I'm saying I don't want him to be able to say, I would like Tenny to do a dangerous job for me when she's 15 years old.
Orson's 15.
Orson has class levels. He can fight.
I'm 15.
The thing is she's either a member of the house or she isn't.
I guess there's probably no way around that.
So just to be clear, so we're all on the same page. Vassalage, the state of being a vassal, the homage, fealty, or services due from a vassal.
Right.
You're swearing your allegiance and your colors to Azel and Rex. You're not. I mean, you can draft it like a business contract and see what he does. But you're saying that House Veritas is a vassal of the crown, Azelin's crown. That includes subordinate houses to Veritas. It includes descendants. It already includes Tenny. Unless you disown her.
Okay.
So, like I said, I think the only, like, to me as a character, both out of character and in character, the only, like, thing, like, I think bringing up the thing of, like, down the line, if we do find a way back to Grand Fornisco, in him going, no, you can't leave because you're my vassals.
Mm-hmm.
I think putting the exit clause in there is smart, because at this point our characters are still like, maybe we'll get home one day.
Sure.
I mean, that's our goal.
And then, like,
it doesn't matter if it's realistic or not.
But, like, we could word it like, until such a point as we find a way to Grand Fornisco and word it in a way where only people who go back to Grand Fornisco are no longer his. It's like, if they stay, they're still his vassal.
So, I guess I'll ask this broad question. Are you guys drafting this up to read something like, we agree that House Veritas becomes the vassal of Azel and Rex, except for these parts of vassalage that we find inconvenient?
I mean, I don't actually... Does he lay out what he expects of us as vassals?
You only spoke to him once, and you haven't been called back to negotiate anything. And any questions that you've put to Renal about the subject have gone nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we should put it into the clause that, until such times we find a way home. He knows we're looking for a way home. He doesn't think we're going to find it. So I say we just put that in there and see what he says.
Why don't we just make it all members of House Veritas who reside within Darkness? And then if we leave,
But
if anyone wants to stay, if our descendants, if we get trapped here for the rest of our lives and our descendants decide they want to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the implied thing. It's like, if we find a way to leave and you leave, you're no longer under him. But if you want to stay, then
no implied things in this. This has to be spelled out explicitly.
No, I mean, like, we're spelling it out explicitly. But
so are we bringing
is,
one roll of parchment back to Azelin, or are we taking a small encyclopedia back to Azelin?
We are going to somehow teleport the lawyer from Brenadine and have him write this up.
From culturally, how much red tape is there in Grand Ferniscan politics? Like, culturally, like, how much...
It can get every bit as detailed as, say, a business contract could today in the United States.
It's like, we're writing, like, a Grand Ferniscan style contract, like, so it would be in the style of that.
Victor's right. You wouldn't want to imply anything. You would want to explicitly say what rights both parties have. The question you guys can't get answered right now is, what are our rights when it comes to Azel and Rex? How powerful is he? What does he expect us to do? He hasn't called us back to negotiate. He hasn't even mentioned this contract once until 2 days before you guys were planning to leave. And then he told you to bring it to him. This is not how business is done.
I guess we would just... Is there some standard... I guess we'll just put standard stuff in there, like
I mean, do we,
like
as members
protection.
of the noble house, do we know, like, the kind of oaths you would swear?
Yeah.
You're
Like, what?
pledging fealty to another lord? Like, should we just put what we think the standard sort of what you would normally recite? Just enumerate all that?
Yeah, you could.
Like just like but like in Gran Francisco is like the Lord required to send aid in times of whatever, like what is that? Like what
Much
is
of Gran Francisco and much of the world you guys come from is still embroiled in feudalism. This is all, none of
Yeah.
this is new to you, but a lot of it, especially in Francisco, which is a relatively peaceful country, a lot of it is more or less just traditional. Like, so-and-so is your lord, but if you were, like, to call your banners and go to war against whom? The other part of Gran Francisco, that doesn't really make sense to a lot of people.
right.
So I guess the question would be: so when a house is established and is put under the church,
Mhm.
would that be more of a similar relationship to what this is going to be?
It depends on what the church has need of.
Well, if the church wants to have dominion over a house, or a house wants to be under the protection of the church, or however that works.
Well, the church is in protection of keeping the genealogies. There isn't a house unless the church says there is
Right.
in Francisco.
I mean, like the only thing, like it makes sense to me that the only thing we would know, like we wouldn't. I don't think none of us would want, because none of us are political, or we're not lawyers here.
Well, I'll give an example that came up earlier in the campaign. Like Evie was looking into establishing certain kinds of mining rights along a South Warren border. And the house that controls those lands are a vassal house to Veritas. That means you guys could send an order, and theoretically, by law, they would have to follow it. You're the Lord. You're telling them what to do. They have to follow it. In practicality, that would not actually be that smooth, which is why Evie was looking at other ways of establishing contact with that border and making good on that house. By the book, because of tradition, they're a vassal to Veritas. But in actual practice, they would expect some sort of recompense. And if you did order your vassals off their land so you could take it, that would be very bad PR for the house. That's kind of the environment you guys have grown up in.
Right.
I don't think it works here. I think everyone in this country just does what Aslan Rex says, and if they don't, then you end up with one of those empty ghost cities.
He Wizard Kings you.
Basically.
So I have a question about the Ambersons. Has Aslan approached them about establishing any kind of territory, or are they coming with us?
As far as you know, you're welcome to take any number of your party as you like. Anyone else who doesn't want to go can be left as a guest with Castle Avernus.
Okay, but he has not offered the Ambersons any kind of land in exchange for knowledge of their house magic. I wonder why that is.
He is not.
Are they coming with us?
There is some disagreements between the two between Trieste and Abernathy about what's the better road to find treatment for Donique. Trieste wants to strike out. She thinks the best bet is to go out. She doesn't like this giant creepy castle. Really, none of your party does. Some of the people were very comfortable at first, but the longer you guys stay here, the more unsettling it becomes. Abernathy thinks staying put, at least until you guys get settled and send word, is better for Donique. Like, there's more likely to be information on how to heal her in Aslan's libraries if you could pry it loose from him.
Abernathy. Well, I mean, obviously that's going to have to largely be a decision down to Abernathy and Trieste, with some input probably from Evie as well, because ostensibly he's her beau.
So that's Genie.
Abernathy will defer to Trieste's decision, and you guys can influence what decision Trieste makes if you so desire. If you want them to come, they'll come. If you don't, you could probably convince her to stay.
I guess I could ask her now, like, do they have any therapists in Ravenloft?
So in the...
Sorry.
There are no therapists in Ravenloft. It's hell.
No psychologists.
We could put that in the.
I want to put something in the contract that he cannot compel us to like kill our friends. Like they are our allies, and that is not something that he could order us to do.
Do they want? Do they want to be a?
Then they should probably be vassals of us.
They
Right.
should probably, either that or be wards.
That might be something I'm willing to do. I'd be willing to establish that the House Amberson are vassals to House Veritas. Of course, then that means he could give them orders.
Like that's up to.
Why not instead have them? They're under our protection. They're not vassals. They're guests of our estate.
That's pretty
whatever
good.
form that takes.
Neither Abernathy nor Trieste have much interest in declaring Amberson to be a vassal house to Veritas.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why.
If pressed
That's
on
why
it,
I
they don't
offered-
think you have the authority to do that.
Well,
That's
we're
why
not. Go ahead.
That's why I put that forward, that offer and that idea, because this way you're not beholden to us. If you catch wind of somebody to help treat Donique, then by all means go your way, and blessings of air be upon you. But
Should we put? Is that something we should ask for in the contract? Treatment for Donique?
I don't think that that's a Aslan question. I think that's something we have to do ourselves. He's not gonna. I don't think that's something that he's concerned about.
So what I'm hearing is you're drafting up this contract. You want the ability to leave Darkon if you find a way out and go home. You want him to not be allowed to make you kill each other.
We want to verify that we have rights to whatever artifacts we find, excluding his first pick of things. Since
Okay.
he supposedly he called for that.
Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah, we have the right to
Oh, and
study
the-
and
and the-
collect artifacts of our own accord.
Right. And I would the thing that Jeannie wants to ask for is books and knowledge that would help.
Yeah, Victor also.
No,
has-
I'm talking about what is going into this contract you want him to sign.
Well, I think the not killing us, the exit clause, and then the can't be compelled to serve after death.
Okay.
also rights to all knowledge that we find, as well as access. Victor would like to put in there that our house has access to all sources of knowledge within the domain. So if anybody has like a private library they don't want to share, we can go in there by order of.
You mean like if you find within your borders someone has a library they don't want you into, you have the right to go in and peruse it.
If we have to restrict it to our borders, yes.
Okay.
I think
Ideally, it would be
establishing.
over the entire domain.
Yeah. No, I think establishing terms of the information we are allowed to glean and possess. I think because we're going to be doing that kind of work from where we are planning to peruse some ruins, he's giving us a list of things. I think having something in the contract that says, here's how we can use that knowledge, what we can keep for ourselves. Obviously, I think if he wants something, he could just take it. We can't really stop him.
But yeah, but otherwise, I think the rest of the contract should just be a standard for Niskin vassalage contract, something that we would be aware of.
Okay.
Even if we don't necessarily have a practical understanding of what that entails, that's what we would probably all most understand, I think.
And so you guys probably spend at least several days poring over this contract and changing things and moving things around, and you get it to a point where you are all more or less satisfied that it's pretty watertight. It seems pretty good, especially Victor, who has done this sort of work in Brennanine before. And then the day comes when he sends Renal to call Jeannie and Victor to audience.
Yeah, don't embarrass me in front of the Wizard King. I'm trying to learn how this electricity works.
What about the plumbing too? While you're at it, the
I
toilets.
mean,
are-
that's on the list. It's probably related.
Before they go, I'm going to say if either of you find yourself saying something that you think that Evie would stab you for, just stop talking.
Oh, I'm just gonna remember. What would Ruby do?
Kidnap the king, hold him for ransom.
You're taking back to Aslan's Solar, and it's different from other rooms that you've been staying in because he doesn't use the bulbs to light the room. He prefers a simple candle on the table. Although this time of day, when you're meeting him, it's much closer to midday, so the room is also illuminated by small windows set high up near the ceiling braces. And once again, walking through the keep, one of the things you think is unsettling is there's no decor, there's no heraldry, there's no artwork, there's no statues. There's lots of color in terms of curtains hanging or carpets laying along the floor, but nothing aesthetic.
I mean, Jeannie does. That's exactly how Jeannie decorates, so she understands.
And even when you get back into the Solar, like the candlestick sitting on the table, it's just a candlestick. There's no adornment to it. Even the crown that he wears on his head is a simple crown with some cut jewels set into it.
So we're either in the house of the Pauper King, or he just doesn't care.
And he invites the two of you to the Solar. And you go through the whole rigmarole where you take the knee and are asked to stand, and he shows you which chairs you're sitting in. And he asks Victor for whether he has had an opportunity to finalize the contract you had spoken of.
We have, Your Grace.
He takes it. And how big, how thick are we talking here?
As thick as it needed to be.
So you're in there for a while as he's reading through it, page after page. And at the end, without ceremony and without even a single question, he pulls a quill out of his inkwell and puts his name to the contract. And I'm going to assume at this point you all have already signed it. It's already signed by like 15 different people on your side, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Victor did sign it as Vincent.
Why?
Because he's a
He
smart
already knows.
Because Victor's a smartass, that's why.
Victor, make an insight check.
Yeah, not with a 4.
4 plus what?
4 plus 0. Well, with psionic die, I'm guessing.
So yeah, he reads through the contract. He doesn't ask a single question, and almost without ceremony, he just pulls up his quill, signs his name to it in great sweeping letters. And then he closes it up, lays a hand on top of the contract, speaks some magic words, and slides his hand across the table, duplicating it. And he asks which copy you would like to take for your records.
I will grab the closest one.
You're going to reach across the table and just grab it from him?
I mean, I'll point at the closest one.
And he nods, and he slides the original back across the table.
Okay.
We are told that Victor has made inquiries about the nature of the ruins that are to be in your borders. This is information that we do not have. It will be our expectation that you are capable of surveying these places, yes?
We are, Your Grace.
Very good. And then he asks whether Victor will be remaining for the lesson, the explanation that Jeannie had previously asked for.
If Your Grace does not mind, I would like to stay, yes.
I will
Jeannie
allow
is
Jeannie an intelligence check at disadvantage. Victor gets nothing. Your DC is going to be 25.
Ooh, there's no way I could make that because if it's just a straight intelligence check, I would have to roll.
Well, let's see how close you get.
All right.
You might roll 2 20s. It's happened before at this table. Fucking notable.
Rolling the nat 20 would get me a 24.
4 blips is natural success.
And, but you know what?
This
yeah,
roll
4 blips.
is immune to blips.
Oh, is immune to blips. That was a 20.
The reason is because you're asking for knowledge that nobody in your world has any concept of. So his explanation, just as you think you're starting to grasp a concept, it slips away as he's moving on to some other topic. It would be like trying to explain how electricity works to somebody born in the 1400s.
Victor is trying to draw pictures, but he's probably just like making a dog by the end of it.
So, to the best of your understanding, Jeannie, you're able to glean that Azalin has some way of capturing lightning and placing it in the walls of his castle. That's about as good as you get. So you've been told that you probably already know lightning naturally occurring is not magical in nature. Those experiments have probably already been done, probably by Jeannie with a kite and a key tied to it. I can just imagine. But your understanding of the concept does not get greater than that, and Azalin does not circle back to re-explain things, and he does not suffer questions, and he does not dumb down any part of his explanation. And at the end of it, and he demonstrates with the own lights in his room and how he's able to pull a chain near to the door, like you've seen in some of the rooms in the house. But that's as far as you get. That was with, what, a 23?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
And Victor, it's magic. It's just another kind of magic. It's pompous and rude of him to not just admit that it's magic. You don't understand why he won't just say it's magic.
Sounds about right.
All right. Does anything else need to happen in Castle Avernus before you guys hit the road?
Well, the only inquiry I want to make before we leave is, and this is probably an inquiry that Trieste was making, somebody to potentially cure Donique.
That has been found to be beyond the abilities of the castle. Probably at one point, Aslan had sent a physician to your quarters. And it's actually very common. They say that she's horror-struck. It happens quite a lot. There's not really any treatment. Sometimes people come around and wake up from it. Other times they don't. It could last weeks. It could last decades. But you only get very general and very broad answers. They're not interested in what caused the horror. They're not really interested in other symptoms that she's shown. And the physician is otherwise of no help at all.
There was a story that I read for a college literature class. It was Lady in Yellow Wallpaper. I can't remember the name of it, but this is kind of what I'm getting the vibe from. I don't know if that rings in anyone else's bells.
I don't think I read that one. But
Gorsh
Victor is very, very disillusioned by this. This does not make Victor feel very good that this can happen.
Is it AC or DC electricity?
It was DC
FC.
25. It was DC
Okay.
25.
Yeah, how high is its armor class?
Goroshu seems very excited at the prospect. He's been charged with driving you safely to the site and to stay there and do whatever you need of him for however long you have use of him.
There was a couple of other things I wanted to touch before we set out from Castle Avernus.
Like what?
Wanted to see about restocking painting supplies as well as getting a new cello.
Sure, that can be provided.
Okay.
Yeah, just pay whatever price is listed in the PHB. Ronald can arrange for the objects to be bought. He's very cagey on where he bought them from.
Victor is going to make sure he has stuff to make charts and maps on this trip out to the farm.
Yeah, you guys can buy whatever supplies you need out of the PHB. That can all be arranged in the days leading up to your leaving.
Oh, I do have one question. Is there any... Because I have these psychic viewing goggles, and I meant to bring that up, but we got caught up in the discussion on contracts. Is there any, like... Can I see anything with the having those goggles infused? The psychic goggles? Glasses, whatever they are? Is there anything visible in those? Since we're in a new area?
That depends on whether or not you're willing to put them on in Aslan's presence.
I mean,
which would be against the decorum that Renal warned you about.
no, I wouldn't have put them on.
Okay. So I mean,
I would have
just
just
walking
looked
the
around the
keep
castle.
with them, you don't see anything of note. Once in a while, you think it's something, and then you kind of excitedly open a door and look inside. It's just Victor taking a shit again.
Like it poops.
So you were afforded Goroshu and his wheelhouse, and 2 wagons of supplies, construction supplies, wood, nails, various types of tools. You've got tools required to fish and to hunt, to fell lumber if need be. There's a set of blacksmithing tools. You're given 24 laborers, all men, to drive the wagons and to do whatever work you need of them. These men, as far as you are made aware, are serfs of Azulin that he's relocating to meet your needs. If you want, you can take, if you're missing a retainer, you can take one from amongst these men, or we can say you meet somebody along the road and build rapport with them. That's up to you. You also have no small supply of food, lots of dried fruit and meat, lots of trail rations, several barrels of potable water, several barrels of ale, that kind of stuff. And this is all packed into 2 covered wagons, each being led by an ox, and then your wheelhouse is being led by the same 2 horses that Gorshu brought you in with.
Before we leave,
So in terms of, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we leave, I do want to take I do want to spend money on like a bound journal, like just a blank journal, and writing utensils.
And the first time that you send Renal to purchase something on your behalf, he makes a little showing of doing like a little acid test to ensure that the coinage you're giving him is actually silver or gold or whatever. After he performs that little ritual once, he has no difficulty, no problem taking any amount of your money that you give him.
Are the 2 ox the only livestock we're getting?
There are supposedly wild animals along the way.
Okay.
Some of these men can be trained to bring them to heal. You might also come across empty villages that still have livestock. Or you could just take livestock from any still inhabited villages in your borders. That's Evie's purview as Duchess. She can tell every village, hey, I want 10% of your cows.
Oh, can I actually finally buy a stupid book worth 50 gold pieces as a spell component?
Yes.
All right.
Can I buy 74? I guess. I don't know. This is something that might make Renal suspicious if I ask for stuff to make poison.
Do you ask him?
I mean, when's the next time I'm gonna get a chance?
Just ask.
All right, yeah, I'll ask.
And he never has questions about what you want. He only ever questions your coinage, and he only does that once. Once he's proved his satisfaction your coin is good, he is able to find whatever you need from the list.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna buy enough. I already have some materials from foraging, so I'm just gonna do enough to make 2 batches of that, which is the rules for it in the poisoner feed are for 50 gold. I can make a number of doses of poison equal to my proficiency modifier. So I'm going to make 2 batches of that, so I think it gives me 6 poisons.
Okay.
I also stocked up on incense for Fine Familiar.
Do we want to start working on a set of full plate for Orson?
We'll
We
do
don't
that
have the
later.
money for that unless we cash out gems, I think.
You have some of the tools and some quantity of metal that you're taking with you, as well as a trained blacksmith.
Well, we have several trained blacksmiths.
We got those
We,
black iron shields and some helmets and stuff.
I
We
spent
down.
too much of that. I spent
Yeah.
all-
That's what I plan on doing. Like, that's something that I plan on doing.
Okay.
So one of the things that Jeannie is going to do is she's going to just before we like I think she would have asked for the journal like at the start of the trip,
Okay.
at the start of our stay, and she was like she's going to start keeping a journal. Like she's going to write down like the experiences that we had like on the river from the time we landed here to the time we came to the. She's going to journal everything
Okay.
to kind of keep everything written down, and also so there's a written record, and also She's going to she's going to transcribe all of her notes that just the nonsense that she was trying to figure out of this electricity stuff, this electricity nonsense. Like everything she was able to glean. I know you said it wasn't much, but it's a
No,
starting point.
I didn't say it wasn't much, said it wasn't anything. You think there's lightning in the walls.
Right.
On the last day, as you guys set out, you were informed by Renal, who's not coming with you. Renal is Aslan's servant. But he makes a gift on His Grace's behalf of the Atlas, the 2 books of magic that you were given, and the language gazetteers.
Those are very appreciated.
One thing Victor would like to do before they leave is he would like to get how exactly does Aslan want us to deal with any artifacts? Do we just come to him directly, or do we go through his retainer?
How do we send word?
So the way that would be in the contract is that he has anything you come across is yours unless he has use of it. He will make requests as needed.
Okay.
As to the actual nature of how those requests will be made, you don't get a straight answer. He could send a rider. He could probably just teleport himself directly into your bedroom and stare at you.
Oh, call us, we'll call you. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
The journey.
There's one more downtime thing. Sorry, I'd like to do. Is it possible to train a skill proficiency?
Yes, we were using the same.
Right.
It's 10 weeks minus your int modifier.
Yeah, I think those rules are in Xanathar's because I think it's the similar to training a language. Or you could buy the skilled feat when you get a feat.
Is there anyone who's interested in training me in acrobatics?
No, I don't have that.
I'm proficient in it, yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind being a little bit more mobile.
Are you going to do cartwheels in your heavy armor?
Yeah.
Nice. The journey to your destination is very similar to the journey to the castle. Once or twice, you guys pass through very heavy banks of mist. You camp outside one day. It's a little frustrating. You lose a whole day of travel because by mid-morning you arrive at it, and Goroshu sounds the stop. The Teamsters begin to make camp, and he explains that the mist in front of you can only be safely traversed at dawn. You arrived a little bit too late. That happens once or twice over the course of the journey. But Goroshu seems to know what he's doing. He seems to be able to navigate these mists safely.
Defer to him, I suppose.
You come across fog banks too, and with these, Goroshu will either wait until the fog bank disperses, or he'll chart a separate course and take you out of your way a day or two, and then back on track. You're actually following very few roads, so there's a lot of slow going as you have to ford rivers. And I mean, you've all played Oregon Trail. You know how it goes.
Did anyone die of dysentery?
Denny
Died
does.
of psychic. Victor dies of psychic dysentery.
His brain just melts out of his ears.
Once or
Taking those
twice, you
psychic
come
shits.
across travelers on the road. Goroshu almost always, when he sees travelings, brings the wagons to a halt, goes to speak with them, usually out of earshot of you guys, and the travelers give you wide berth. At one point, coming out of a mist bank, crossing a small stream, you come across an encampment on some wagon. You're following a wagon trail. You think northwest. And there's an encampment up ahead of a wagon similar to the one you're driving, an ox cart, but it's disheveled on the side of the road, and there's a group of people. And once again, Goroshu brings your train to a halt and goes up to speak with the people. And this time when he comes back, one of the men from the encampment ahead comes with him. Middle-aged gentleman, and he doffs his cap as he approaches. And Goroshu says, this man would like to speak with the Duchess Evelyn.
Evie will step forward.
And the man bows before you and introduces himself and his family as the Rajuchoyus. He says he's speaking it to you in Darkanese. It's clear he speaks it as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells you a story about how he and his family are from the town of Treye in nearby Falkovnia. He had received a portent that his town of Treye would be destroyed by an army. And so he and his family up together and were told to seek Duchess Evelyn Veritas along the road. That there will be a place safe for him and his family, refugees from war. The man looks ragged. It's clear that he hasn't bathed in a while. They've probably been on the road for a very long time.
People already know about us?
But he said he had received a portent.
I asked him, does he know any trades?
He's a coffin maker by trade.
Well, we're gonna need one of those.
Yeah, probably. I mean, look them over. They just look like ragged travelers, right?
Looking over at the family, there are 7 of them altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And the man points them out. His wife, Amelia. Their daughter by law, Nadezhda. She's married to their eldest son, Pitar, who is wounded in the back of the wagon. Nadezhda has an infant daughter, and then there are 2 younger daughters, a teenager named Anna Maria, and a girl about Tenny's age, Imuela. The man himself is Demetrius.
I mean, they sure look like refugees to me.
You can tell that their wagon has been repaired many times, that they're probably running low on supplies. He's just asking that he be allowed to add his wagon to your train, that his family might find salvation in your lands.
I mean, I don't have a problem with this. Does anybody look at this and feel like we shouldn't do this?
You're the Duchess.
You're the Duchess.
No, but I'm not. I mean, you guys have a say too. I'm not like the boss.
No. If we get murdered in our sleep by knife-wielding children, we want it to be your fault, not ours.
Evie, your word is law.
Don't
Now,
tell her that.
are you guys having this conversation in Darkanese in earshot of Demetrius?
No,
I think we're arguing for Niskin.
for Niskin.
Okay.
We have a language that that like maybe 5 people in this entire world understand besides us. We
We know
going to
2
be-
languages like that. I mean, I think, yeah, we could just. I would love to have someone who could tell us about Falconia. Was that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What sort of skills are they going to bring with them?
Copy making.
He's a coffin maker by trade.
Oh, coffin.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Did you think I said coffee maker? Did you think you were getting a Starbucks?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
let's gloss over that.
I mean, I'll tell them the place that we're going isn't necessarily going to be comfortable. There's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. If your family is willing to contribute to that work, I'd be happy to let you make a home there.
Well, he tells you that he is a skilled carpenter. He can work with wood and nails. He can fell lumber, and he can do any sorts of repairs that need to be done. That he and his son is also a very hard worker. Once he's well,
what we need.
yeah.
Yeah, that all sounds good to me. I'll signal to Ekon to give some medical attention to the young gentleman who appears to be injured.
Yeah.
If they're all right with that.
Yeah, Demetrius you can follow him back to the wagon. And, I mean, the inside of the wagon, you can smell the sick looking into the back. The man is laying in the back of the wagon. He's been bound in such a way that his right arm is bound to his torso in bandages that are brown with dried blood. And I mean, you can smell the putrefaction from underneath the bandages. The man is alive, but he's got a very high fever. Like, he's heating the inside of this covered wagon. His hair is matted to his brow. He's just babbling nonsense while awake.
So
And his
a
wife
lesser
is there, but
restoration
she
will
does not
remove a
speak
disease.
Dark
Oh, sorry.
News. Make me an insight check.
Yep. It's an insight of 10.
Of 10? Okay. The teenage daughter, Anna Maria, avoids you as you approach the wagon. She circles back around to the front, as though to avoid you. The daughter-by-law, Nadezhda, she is informed who you are by Demetrius, and then she kind of meekly steps aside and lets you into the wagon. But she, too, does what she can to completely avoid eye contact. She does not meet your gaze.
Okay. So how many actual sick people are back here? Just the one?
Just the one man.
So yeah, cure lesser restoration will cure one disease, and then I could also tag him with some magical healing.
Okay, give me a medicine check.
Sure. That's a medicine of 20.
It looks like his arm received a terrible injury of some kind. And then they had not the resources to bind it properly. And then it became infected, and now it's beginning to putrefy. The best thing you could do for this man is remove his arm above the elbow.
Okay.
The good news is he doesn't have any disease. I don't think that spell says it can clear infections, but I'm going to say that an infection and disease, like...
Sure.
That's fine. So you can clear the infection, but it's just going to reputrefy. The best thing you can do is
these
take his
people
arm.
don't speak Darkanese?
Demetrius does, and his wife Emilia does. And if you ask, he tells you that he's been teaching the children as well since they've left, but it's only been a couple of weeks since they've left.
What's their native language?
Falkovnian.
Okay. Ekon will do his best to explain that he's going to have to remove that arm, because otherwise the man is going to die.
And when he relays this to the others in his party, I mean, his wife is immediately begrieved. Like, she immediately breaks down. Nadezhda just kind of meekly nods and turns away from you. She's clutching her infant daughter to her chest, and they just let you do whatever work needs done.
Yep, so we're gonna just get out medicine tools and just, sawbone, magical fire to cauterize, and there goes the arm.
Okay. And you get him cleaned up and freshly bandage his arm as best you can. It's difficult to say what kind of wound he has suffered, because the whole arm below the elbow was badly putrefying.
Mm-hmm.
The degree to which it was putrefying is alarming. It could not have been a natural wound. It couldn't have come from a sword or an axe or something.
Yeah. We're going to put that arm into a fire pit, and we're going to scorch and ray it.
Okay.
Well, I will ask Demetrius, what befell your son? How did he come by this injury?
And my apologies, but the story is fantastical.
We have seen a fair number of fantastical happenings in the last few weeks. I don't think you're going to tell me anything that could be truly shocking.
He said it was... Begging your pardon, it was the dead that walk.
But that's not even that unusual to us. We have those back in Ferniska.
You mean a civil servant did this to you?
Zombie?
Did
Skeleton?
this happen nearby?
And he shakes his head and assures you that it happened in Falkovnia before the Vistani brought them to Darkon. He also assures you that he's not infectious, that he's not going to make anybody else sick, and there's no need to burn him alive.
He's not gonna turn into a zombie and eat us.
Excuse me.
Does my medicine and arcana checks back that up?
If he was infectious in the sense that he had a disease that other people could catch by touching him or being around him, everybody in his family would be infected.
Right. That makes sense.
That seems pretty obvious as you go through the surgery.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not. Okay.
No, there's nothing magical about these people at all.
Anything psychic?
You mean
I have the goggles on. I just start looking at people in the goggles from now on.
they all have brains and they think your goggles are weird?
Yeah,
But
put
they
a
don't-
magic circle against good. Make sure have them all stand in it just to be
They have
double
a-
sure.
The goggles have a little thing that goes ding on them. Oh, come on, McDohl.
At
you
any
didn't
rate,
get that?
that's the most I can do for the arm.
Okay.
No, I got it. I just chose not to dignify it with a response.
Yeah, I'm okay with these folks coming with us.
It goes ding when there's stuff.
So, Brick, while we're on the way, I would like to recruit a retainer, an herbalist,
Okay.
among one of the local, just from one of the local villages or whatever.
When you say herbalist, do you mean like an herbalism kit, or do you mean like an alchemist? Because
I want someone with proficiency with nature and medicine.
Okay.
And a high int score, so that they can grow incense and poison components for us.
And you do. As you're traveling along, once or twice, not that often, but once or twice, you do get hangers-on to your train. Travelers who are crossing the land, other people with stories once or twice about their village being overrun or having been driven away. And by the time you reach the wall of mist that Goroshu announces surrounds your borders, you've probably added another 10 people or so. A small family here, a lone traveler there, an exile here. And what's strange is many of them seem to know who you are and where you're going. They've received word somehow that House Veritas would be rebuilding a village in a fertile place and setting the land there to rights. I need get a nature check. Any of you can make it, and go ahead and make it at advantage because you're all are going to be able to chip in on this. You can allow this to go to Orson too if you want.
Orson.
I now have a retainer with nature.
That's true.
Does anyone beat a plus? What's their proficiency bonus? +2, so they'd have a +4.
Let me see. I don't have the sheet with
Probably.
stats with Orson's stats on it. Up. So give me just a moment. Party sheet.
Orson has
Orson's +2 +0, so he's +2 on nature. Or is nature wint or wisdom? It's int, then it's +1.
Okay. So we want to have my new retainer do this.
Sure.
All right.
They can make this at advantage.
Oh, you said the advantage. Yeah. So that's a nature of 20.
Coming through this wall of mists into what Goroshu announces is your borders. From this point, he says it's going to take probably 2 days to reach the ruins of the village that you'll be expected to put back together. As you're traveling, none of the native Darkanese people that you're traveling with, none of the Teamsters mention it, but your retainer points out a type of tree that they've never seen before. And looking at it, you guys recognize it as the same type of tree that you have commonly in South Warren from which wood steel can be made.
well, that's interesting.
Very, very few of them, and you never find a whole copse of them together. There's one growing amidst other types of trees. And right now it's the middle of summer, so everything's in very full bloom. But as your retainer is going around pointing to the different kinds of plants and wildlife and things as you pass, That's the type of tree that they've never been able to identify.
Do we stop and investigate?
Call the train to a halt.
I'm proposing the idea to the rest.
I would like to mark this tree. Yeah.
I mean, you're still days away from where your village is going to be.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't think we should just keep
Think
an
we
eye
can come
out.
back.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Victor. I say, Victor, I have a very important job for you. I need you to make a very detailed map of our new holding.
Yeah, one of the things Victor's been doing is, I had to say this, so let me know if it's too late, but he's been kind of trying to sketch out the path and where they're going to get a crude map of how to get from the castle to the wherever we end up being.
Oh, that's easy enough. Yeah, Goroshu is helpful in that regard. Do you allow Edmont to help draw this map?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to open it, Edmont, to add this new knowledge to it that, hey, there's woodsteel trees out here somewhere. And in the corner of the map is a familiar friend. A man wearing a broad straw hat, facing away from you, leaning on a scythe.
Let me know if Victor sees this as something.
Oh, yeah, he's there. And you're like, why is Edmont drawing this guy on my map?
And well, who's your friend?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
It's a couple more days from that point. By the evening of the third day, you arrive at the village, which I also haven't saved. Go me.
What would it take for me to learn to make the prosthetic limb common magic item? Like, if I could make that, would I need to just take it as one of my infusions? Probably.
There's a prosthetic limb that's a magic item?
Yep, it's a common magic item from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's like 50 gold pieces to make.
Yeah, it would take whatever the rules for crafting a 50 gold piece magic item is.
Okay.
So, my new retainer, who I, meet up with during this traveling period, his skill proficiencies are in survival and animal handling.
Fair enough. And the village, when you reach it, is in a sorry state. I don't know who drew this map, but they decided you guys shouldn't have much of anything, I guess.
Whoever did was such a jerk.
So, I mean, you've got dilapidated wooden palisade running around part of the village. The keep is in a terrible shape. Most of the structures are burnt out or overgrown with these horrible vines covered in blood-red thorns. There's a great bridge in the middle of the village, this collapsing stone bridge that spans nothing to nothing because the stream that might have run through the village has long ago dried up. It's basically just muddy in that area now.
Like it's dammed up by rocks over here.
This place is in much, much worse shape than you feel Azalin Rex has led you to believe.
Yeah.
This place
feel like
is
that's-
not livable at the moment.
I feel like
I don't
that's
think
Solitaire's fault.
Yeah, I'm going to give Aslan a pass on this one.
Okay? So while you guys worry about your new home where you're going to live forever, we'll go ahead and take a break here. You can go ahead and make your coffee, make your bagel. I'll drop the curtain, and we'll reconvene in about 15 minutes.